Since the 18,000s BCE, societies thrived off the use of boats for trade and transportation. And following the creation of oars, followed by sails, then internal combustion engines, maritime traffic has continued to develop throughout history to become more efficient with time. Original small canoe-like boats have evolved into advanced vessels ranging from the smallest jet skis to the largest cruise ships and freighter boats, as they have made their seamless entry into everyday life. Being from Cleveland, huge boats travel up and down the Cuyahoga River all day long, and while they are huge and impressive, they are a normal part of life. Boats are known to transport upwards of 11 billion tons of goods every year, and that is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what boats can do. The cruise ship industry, for example, brings $37.8 billion to the U.S. economy in 2010 alone, and held over 300,000 jobs. However, it is unfortunate that with all the benefits and the historical legacy of boats, they have started to become a problem as they have grown in size and popularity. Boats are known to create three types of pollution: sound pollution, air pollution, and water pollution. And cruise ships are the worst in all three categories. The cruise ship named Icon of the Seas is the world's largest cruise ship, and it can produce 250 grams of CO2 per kilometer. While it does use liquefied natural gas engines that are supposed to help the sustainability of the world's fossil fuels, scientists predict that it can actually be more harmful due to methane production. In addition to the air pollution, cruise ships dump over 1 billion tons of human waste annually, which contributes heavily to the water pollution. And due to loud engines, these ships can scare wildlife out of their habitats and overall disturb the ecosystem, especially around cruise ship ports, which are often near reefs and other wildlife attractions. Another issue is that the Icon of the Seas carries 8,000 people who are not educated in swimming in protected areas and end up harming wildlife, especially species of coral and reefs. Cruise ships bring so much to the economy, and it is unfortunate that they cause so much destruction to our oceans. The cause of pollution by maritime vessels is tragic, and I got to see it firsthand on a recent trip to Roatan, a small island off the northern coast of mainland Honduras. In Roatan, we saw the actual Icon of the Seas at a popular cruise ship port. Later, I interviewed Sean Jackson, a professional photographer who was born on Roatan and later moved to Cleveland. When Sean was young, Roatan wasn't as popular of a tourist destination, and since then it has grown to have 2 going on 3 cruise ship ports. These cruise ship ports often house the largest cruise ships in the world, such as the Icon of the Seas. I asked Sean a number of questions throughout the interview, but one stood out to me the most, and it was when I asked him about the cruise ship industry in Roatan and how people on the cruise ships affect the island and where all the money goes. Hi, Sean.
Hi. I think the crowds, the amount of people, the infrastructure we have it's too much. The roads, the street. It's beneficial for a lot of folks because of the money that's being left behind. It would help the island in general a lot more if the majority of the money or taxes per person that got off the docks didn't go to the central government and a lot stayed here, because then we could better roads, better everything. But yeah, most of that does not stay on the island. And I think just in general with the ships, it's like they aren't supposed to be dumping waste. I'm sure, there's a lot that still do offshore. And yeah, I think just the massive amounts of people that they're bringing in and offloading on a daily basis, also, trash and all that stuff in general.
Sean talks about how Roatan, as an island, profits so little from the visiting cruise ships due to the money all going to the central government in mainland Honduras. But beyond that, the tourists bring trash to pollute the waters, along with unintentionally harming wildlife. It's like Roatan is losing in an agreement that has a goal of helping the island by putting the community on the map. Because walking around the popular areas of Roatan, it is clear that businesses are doing well. However, more inland, it is clear that the central government of Honduras doesn't contribute as much to Roatan's infrastructure, especially on things like roads and utilities. It is unfortunate that these things occur outside the cruise ship industry as well. Container ships are estimated to lose a few 100,000 containers per year due to storms, and the fishing industry causes mass overfishing and bycatch. These industries are all designed to help areas, but only end up hurting them. Let's be real, these issues aren't new. There is just a lack of action being taken. In our interview, I also asked Sean how locals would react to change.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just like most places, it's probably going to be around for a while, and then folks like that, if they try to implement more rules and regulations into you need a license, or you need to do this, or this boat can't go through here anymore. You have to use the bigger channels through outside and not go through mangroves, or make part of the mangrove channel as an example, like one way, and you come another route. I'm sure folks would not like that, and any changes like that, I guess, in general. I don't know.
Of course, people are going to be reluctant to change because boats have been the backbone of an island like Roatan forever. And while there always hasn't been a huge tourism industry, boats have always been used for local fishing, the transportation of goods, and even as cars because they need to transport people to their isolated keys. On a tour we took of a mangrove forest, our tour guide told us about how fishermen in the off-season will park up their boats right outside their houses. These boats were mostly shrimp boats and will be in service for up to 8 months of the year on end until returning home for a few months of break. These people literally need these boats because without them, their income would be zero, and the boats have been in their family for decades, even centuries. We also saw a lot of homes where there would normally be a driveway, instead there's a dock. Of course, these people would be reluctant to change because they need their boats to survive, and it's a shame what they do to the environment. But like cars, people still need them and use them anyway. And it's not true that locals want to hurt the environment. I'm sure it's actually the opposite. However, change to a more sustainable boat or more restricting laws just isn't realistic to a lot of people, especially because a lot of people on Roatan live below the poverty line. Along with Sean, I also interviewed a couple of my peers to talk about the things they have noticed about everyday life on Roatan. Good morning, Mr. Eggleston.
Oh, good morning. Good morning. I think because of the limited infrastructure on the island, it seems to be easier to get places off the island because you don't really need infrastructure in the ocean. It's kind of a free range place, which is a good thing because you don't really need major rules and regulations and speed limits when you're out on the water. So I think having a boat and being able to get places through boats like we saw in Oak Ridge can be very beneficial because it's just it can be a different mode of transportation from a car, and it can substitute as a car. One isn't better or worse than the other.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hello.
What song are you currently listening to?
Oh, I was into Upside Down by Jack Johnson,
Nice.
aka the Curie Store song. To do transportation, sometimes taking the boat is faster and smarter than taking the car, and it just kind of seems to be more of a second move of transportation and the primary move of transportation than and obviously there's a lot of more tourism and stuff like that allows the boats here. So. I feel like that would make sense, and especially if people kind of made a living off stuff with boats, if they were a dive master or or a fisherman, or it's kind of just how their life is. And it's just the way things are, just like how people in the Bay Area, a lot of people name their cars, Obviously it's really a big thing to name a boat. So it's kind of just you appreciate the value of how you get around and what your travel is based off. Because I remember driving in the car with my mom. Some people here might imagine or remember driving in their boat.
Both Michael and Leo make really good points about how boats can be even better than driving a car around Roatan, as they comment on the island's need for boats. Michael mentions a lack of infrastructure within the island, which we have definitely seen, as the central government doesn't adequately support the island for its contributions to the country through tourism, as Sean previously mentioned. The ocean doesn't need maintenance like roads do. When it comes to maritime traffic, boats can freely go wherever they want, almost wherever they want, compared to the roads that need attention almost annually and only go in specific areas. Also, Leo mentions the lives of people outside of the mainstream fishing and transportation industries, like dive masters and dive instructors. Scuba diving companies are often an overlooked part of the tourism industry because it is very technical, but it is a huge attraction on the island, and it's part of the reason we were in Roatan. On our trip to Roatan, we spent a lot of our time on the dive boats of Anthony's Key Resort, where we stayed. More specifically, on a boat called a Pro 48, named the Stingray. Pro 48s are custom dive yacht-like boats that are extremely common in the Caribbean, especially Roatan and the Cayman Islands. These boats aren't small and are considered recreational, as they are 48 feet. They are also powered by either a John Deere engine or a Caterpillar engine. Both produce upwards of 300 to even 400 horsepower and can travel up to 26 knots. These engines are powerful as they are diesel, and while they have a purpose, they are tough on the environment and its organisms. These boats contribute to noise pollution by producing upwards of 90 decibels, which can create hearing loss and damage tissue in people and even fish if they are exposed to them often enough. It is unfortunate that being diving boats, they travel to the same places often with the goal of seeing wildlife. Additionally, these companies have the same employees on these boats all the time, so they suffer hearing damage. Additionally, these boats also contribute to air pollution. While they were designed to meet Tier 1 and 2 of the EPA's emission standards for diesel engines, they are still responsible for releasing emissions into the atmosphere. A lot of these engines are constructed before the EPA's 2010 diesel exhaust fluid mandate, which is responsible for severely reducing emissions, meaning these boats lack simple emissions mitigation systems like the catalytic reduction systems used with the diesel exhaust fluid. However, despite their age, these boats do have some impressive emission regulation systems. For example, these engines were some of the first of their time to use electronic fuel pumps, which ensure less fuel is wasted as they're more precise and accurate than mechanical fuel pumps. Also, the standard turbochargers in the majority of all diesel engines hold an important role as well in boats, controlling emissions through the oxygen flow going in and out of the engines. Finally, when it comes to pollution in the water, I could spit facts at you, but I think Sean sums things up really nicely, as he used to work at Anthony's Key, where we stayed. So take it away, Sean.
Some do, some don't. This resort, they do maintain their boat. I mean, accidents can happen, but yeah, this place, the captains here, when I worked here many years ago, had the training and you know, like the emergency, like medical stuff, and also like boat captain training and stuff. So they have a license, but also this is one of the only ones that have resorts, and a lot of places that have like their own mechanic shop and their own boat lift and the whole thing. So they just take it down to the end and, you know, keep it up to date and keep stuff maintained and motor service and checked on, all that stuff. A lot of the other ones don't have that. So I think it depends to them more on, like, you know, we had a good month or year and I want to spend this much, or they kind of push the boats and motors to the limit a little bit more. So yeah, I think it definitely has an impact on how much, you know, oil and pollution stuff is coming out of the hull or boat in general, or paint flaking off and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, because these are kept up a little better than some of the other ones by a
Yeah.
lot, or by a lot sometimes. So yeah.
We were very lucky to be able to stay at such a nice resort that takes care of its boats in their garage and are willing to take the extra steps to do what they can to prevent accidents such as oil spills, paint flaking, and other common boat challenges. The Rotan Institute for Marine Science and Anthony's Key takes reef health very seriously, and it becomes obvious once you see the amount of time, labor, and money they put into keeping their boats in tip-top shape, unlike a lot of other dive companies and resorts. At the end of the day, people on Rotan will always need boats, and the most important thing they can do to maintain a healthy environment is to keep their boats in good condition and drive in smart areas. I was super fortunate to have this opportunity to travel to Rotan with my class and attempt to film this documentary. I want to thank Dr. Chick and Maggie Jackson for all the work they put into making this possible, and Sean Jackson for filming us and being in my interview. And of course Michael and Leo for also being interviewed on such short notice. This experience was life-changing, and without these people, it wouldn't have happened. I also want to thank you for making it to the end of my painful documentary/honors project. It truly means the world to me.